title of my message today is Avoiding Problems. Avoiding problems. Some people think that if you avoid a problem long enough, it'll disappear. It'll disappear. Or you could run away from a problem. Actually, I think that was a meme. Simba? No, I don't know that one. Simba ran away from his problems. That's Hakuna Matata. But that's a good analogy. There you go. So Simba ran away from his problems. And that's actually where I'm going is eventually you will always have to come back and face the problem. Eventually, you will always be back to where you started and the problem you were running from. What was that meme that I saw about? If you avoid a problem long enough, there is a chance it will disappear. And then there was like Eddie Murphy from Dumb and Dorsey. So there is a chance that it's going to be gone, basically. Likely not. Likely you will have to always come back and fight it. Jesus says a very good phrase. He says, pick up your cross and follow me. Pick up your cross and follow me, for my burden is easy and my yoke is light. Serving God doesn't have to be difficult. Serving God doesn't have to be so terrible that you can't do it. Oftentimes it's in our head, right? We're just afraid of something. So if there's one thing true in life, if there's one principle that is absolutely true in life, it's that running away from your problems does a couple of things. First of all, your problems will follow you wherever you go. You will always keep it on the forefront of your mind, right? You can make a nice African catchphrase like Hakuna Matata, but what are you running from? And another thing that happens when you avoid a problem is a problem increases in size. Can anybody witness to that? Does anybody? Yeah? Every time you avoid a problem, it becomes bigger. Bigger. And you're like, whoa. How did this happen? How did it become so big and so out of control? So problematic, yeah. And, they are much harder to fix. But you will always have to go back and face the problem. I'll ask you guys a question. Have you ever thought you're doing something good and then got in trouble for? Yeah. I know I have. When I was little, I gave my little sister a haircut. I thought Mom was going to be happy because Mom said she needs a haircut. I was like, all right, I'll give her a haircut while Mom's gone. My mom did not like it. I got in trouble. And my sister had to get a do-over. She had really short hair. We're going to talk about a Bible character today. A Bible character that started running away from his problems. Even though he started great, even though everything was going good, he started running away from his problems. And he had to go back. If you have your Bibles, open with me to 1 Kings chapter 18. 1 Kings 18:37. I'm reading from NRSV version, so yours might be a little different. If you can change it and you keep that to NRSV, you should. If you can, that's okay. 1 Kings 18:37. This is Elijah praying, and he says, answer me, O Lord, answer me, so that this people may know that you, O Lord, are God, and that you have turned their hearts back. Then the fire of the Lord fell and consumed the burnt offering, the wood, the stones, the dust, and even licked up the water that was in a trench. When all the people saw it, they fell on their faces and said, the Lord indeed is God. The Lord indeed is God. Elijah said to them, seize the prophets of Baal. Do not let one of them escape. Then they seized them, and Elijah brought them down to the Wadi Kishon and killed them there. Wadi Kishon. And here is the reaction of the queen. Because those priests of Baal, they belonged to somebody, right? They were somebody's. And the queen didn't like it. The queen didn't like is that Elijah was doing some good. Here's Elijah. He's trying to do some good. He's trying to get rid of the problem. And what happens is once he overcomes a certain barrier, his problem, even though he wasn't avoiding it, his problem does become bigger. Because he was just facing other prophets, right? What can they do to him? But here is what the queen says. Next chapter, verse 1. 1 Kings 19:1. Ahab told Jezebel, that's the queen, all that Elijah had done, and how he had killed all the prophets with a sword. And Jezebel sent a messenger to Elijah, saying, "So may the gods do to me, and more also, if I do not make your life like the life of one of them by this time tomorrow." So it's a direct threat. She's saying, may the gods do so and so with me. And I'm assuming she listed what may they do with me. Kill me, hurt me, curse me, whatever. If I do not have you killed tomorrow like you have killed the prophets of Baal. And you know what Elijah does? Next verse. Then he was afraid. He got up and fled for his life and came to Beersheba, which belonged to Judah. He left his servant there, but he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness and came and sat under a solitary broom tree. What kind of tree is that? Does it say there? Broom tree. He asked that he might die. "It is enough now, O Lord. Take my life, for I am no better than my ancestors." Elijah came to a point where even though he was serving God and everything was going great, he faced bigger problems. He started running away from them, and he even turned a little bit into a drama guy. He's like, "Take my life, Lord. I am done. I don't want to do this anymore. This is way too difficult. For I am no better than my ancestors that have already died. Lord, I am not worthy. Take my life." He comes to a place that is hopeless. Lord, I've done all I could. I guess a question for us would be, do you guys ever feel that way? Where the problem becomes bigger even though you're trying to solve it. And you come to a place where you're like, I should give up. I should just stop. I don't want to keep going. If you've been in the workforce for a while, you know that you have moments like that for sure, where you're like, man, I don't think I want to go on. I think this is too difficult. I think I should just, change my career. And some people do. They keep changing their careers, keep switching job titles and places of work. A personal example. A friend of mine, a really close friend of mine, is trying to move out of state. And he's doing everything in his power to get out of the state. And he's going to, is it South Carolina, I think? Like, why in the world would you move from, Pacific Northwest to South Carolina? Like, that's a world away, bro. He's like, I'm really stressed at my work. And I don't spend a whole lot of time with my family, and it's not as expensive to live there. And he just goes on and on with all these reasons and complaints and excuses. And I just want to say, the grass is greener on the other side. And if this is the way you lead your life, where you don't create time for your family, where you don't create time for your for socializing, for going to church, where you don't budget properly, right, with your finances, where you don't follow the principles of the scriptures, you think that moving away or running away from your problem is going to solve something. If God calls you to do that, then go for it. If this is a calling from God. And actually some people use that as an excuse too. I feel like it's a God's calling. But you have to always study your motives really, really deep. get to the bottom, get to the truth, and understand why is it that you want to do a certain action? Why is it that you want to stop or move or shake off the responsibility? Grass is always greener on the other side. As Christians, I want to say today that we are called to be happy, or I should say, full of joy. Is that word? Full of joy. You are called to be always rejoicing, right? Consistently praying. If Jesus saved you, there's no reason for you to be upset. Obviously, we go through ups and downs in life, but you should always shine like a new penny. When everybody looks at you and they're like, well, something's different with this person. They're always happy. You know what number one thing people do at work when they communicate? Complain. They complain about something. I got up way too early. I went to bed way too late. The weather today sucks. My boss is not a good man. And on and on and on it goes. And then you're trying to tell somebody about Jesus. Then you're trying to be the light, trying to show them that, it is so much better there. But why? How is it better there if you're always upset? I don't get it. We come to a point where we have to speak the truth to ourselves first. Why are you trying to lose responsibility? Why are you trying to shake a certain thing off of your life? Why are you trying to avoid some things in your life? And why are you not happy? What does the Lord want with me? And what will the Lord do if I start running away from my responsibilities? Oftentimes, I'll tell you what He's going to do. He's going to turn you right back. And He's going to say, you need to go back to where you came from and start over. You need to go back to the place where you lost it, where you lost the battle, to the place where you gave up, and you need to keep going. And we're going to read from Elijah some more. 1 Kings 19, verse 5. Then he lay under the broom tree and fell asleep. Suddenly an angel touched him and said to him, "Get up and eat." He looked, and there at his head was a cake baked on hot stones and a jar of water. He ate and drank, and lay down again. The angel of the Lord came a second time, touched him, and said, "Get up and eat. Otherwise the journey will be too much for you." He got up and ate and drank. Then he went in strength of that food 40 days and 40 nights to Horeb, the mountain of God. That's crazy, 40 days. At that place he came to a cave and spent the night there. Then the word of the Lord came to him, saying, "What are you doing here, Elijah? What are you doing here, Elijah?" See, sometimes in your life when you are too afraid to keep going, sometimes in your life when you give up and stop doing what it is you're supposed to do, the Lord will still care for you. The Lord will still give you water and drink, right? And the Lord will still have a plan for you. Well, He'll know where you have to go and what you have to do. But if you're not following God's plan, but you're following your own plan, what happens when you arrive at that place is God is going to ask you, "What are you doing here? Why are you here? Why did you decide to, quit your job, then your next job, then your next job, then your next job? Why did you decide to, stop being an impact group leader, or stop being this or that, or stop doing this certain responsibility? Why is it that, why are you here? What are you doing with your life?" And you can just put your name there instead of Elijah. You could say, "What are you doing here, Andrey? What are you doing?" If you know you're messing up, if you know you're trying to avoid responsibility, start asking yourself why it is you're doing that. 1 Kings 19, verse 9. That's where we stop, right? At that place he came to a cave and spent the night there. Then the word of the Lord came to him, saying, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" He answered, "I have been very zealous for the Lord, the God of hosts, for the Israelites have forsaken your covenant, thrown down your altars, and killed your prophets with the sword. I alone am left, and they are seeking my life to take it away." He said, "Go out and stand at the mountain before the Lord, for the Lord is about to pass by." Now there was a great wind, so strong that it was splitting mountains and breaking rocks in pieces before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. After the wind, an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire, a sound of sheer silence. When Elijah heard it, he wrapped his face in his mantle and went out and stood at the entrance of the cave. Then there came a voice to him that said, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" He answered, "I have been very zealous for the Lord, for the God of hosts. For the Israelites have forsaken your covenant, thrown down your altars, and killed your prophets with the sword. I alone am left, and they are seeking my life to take it away." Then the Lord said to him, "Go, return on your way to the wilderness of Damascus. When you arrive, you shall anoint Hazael, the king of Aram. Also you shall appoint Jehu, son of Amshi, as king of Israel. And you shall anoint Elijah, son of Shaphat of Abedel, Mohelah, as prophet in your place." So inevitably what happens is when you run away from a problem, and there's so many examples in the Bible, when you run away because you're too afraid, when you don't want to keep going and you say, "Lord, I've had enough," to a point where you say, "Take my life. I'm ready. Where's the heaven?" The Lord will always bring you back to where you stopped, and He will give you more instructions. But you know what's going to happen first is you're going to witness a display of God's glory. And that could be a good thing, but it could also be not that good thing, because it could also mean you're going to get into some trouble. And because God is getting you out, you're going to witness some glory, right? God will always keep you provision, always keep you and get you out of struggles. If I could use another example from the Bible, I'm just going to mention it, and we're going to be wrapping up here in a few minutes. If I could have somebody on the keys as well. I have a little bit shorter service today. Anybody coming to the keys? There you go. Thank you, Taras. Sometimes I too try to run away from responsibilities. Done that too often in my life, where I think something is too hard and it's so much easier to just give up and say, I don't belong here, or I don't want to do it, or it's not for me, or something else. Take the long way around just to avoid something, to not see something, to not run into something. There's been times where my hands have also grown weak. I'm also a person, I'm also a human. I also run out of energy, and sometimes ambition, sometimes courage. And I'm first of all speaking to myself to never give up, to never stop, to have a clear vision and purpose before me. And even when I backtrack a little bit, to always come back to the place where I've started. Let us remember Moses. Moses ran away from Egypt, and what happened? He inevitably had to come back and face Pharaoh, right? You guys know the story of Moses? Moses tried to do things on his own, and he failed, and he ran away full of shame and regrets, and he thought, that's it, that's where I'm going to be. I'm just going to live out my days in the desert. But the Lord said, no, buddy. You're going right back. And you're going to do what it is you started. But this time we're going to do it my way. You started your own way, but now you're doing it my way. And God gave him a staff. God gave him powers. Today you are also given a staff to go back and to start doing the things that you ought to do. You know what your staff is? It is the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit today is the staff of wonders. It tells you what to do. It tells you how to do it, and inspires you, reminds you of the proper verse and the proper thing to say at a proper time. It speaks to you and tells you who you should talk to, witness, and what you should say, how you should approach. It empowers and encourages you. It gives you the ability to do wonders and miracles. And Jesus said that those who follow me will do the greater things than I have done. And you will. Another person in the Bible that had to come back and face the problems. Who remembers who lied to their brother and stole their firstborn right? Jacob. And inevitably Jacob had to come back and face his brother. At first he ran away as this, young kid who didn't know much, who didn't have much. But as he was coming back, the problem was much bigger, because now he's bringing a whole entourage with him. His wives, his children, his cattle and his possessions and his servants and so many things. And he said, I'm gonna send some things that are really valuable up front just to appease my brother and give it to him as gifts. I'm gonna say that your servant is coming to appease my brother. The problem grew, because not only is he coming with a huge entourage, his brother now has an army also. Inevitably, when you run away, you come back. And I guess there is no way to say a sermon and not mention Jesus, right? There is a problem that we caused in the very beginning. Who can tell me what that problem is, right? The first sin, disobedience. And then comes Jesus, the second Adam, or the last Adam. And he has to face the problem that we all avoided and ran away from. The thing that we couldn't fix, God had to come and face it. I like this phrase that was said in one of the things I was watching. It said that every lie you tell incurs a price to the truth, and sooner or later, the account will be due. Every lie you tell yourself, every lie you tell other people, you tell yourself that this is the reason I'm avoiding certain things and afraid of certain things and not doing certain things. But a time will come where you have to give account. Last person I'll mention is Joseph. A guy who could have ran away from slavery, a guy who could have escaped prison. He had the keys, right? He was in charge of the prison eventually. He could have just bounced and go back to his father's house and say, Father, behold, I am alive. But that's all he would have brought is himself. But he stuck to his purpose. He had difficult moments. He was first a slave, and he stuck it out. Then he fell lower and became a prisoner, and he stuck it out. He endured, and he endured pain, beaten, being accused unjustly, being sold by his own brothers, being taken to far, far away land, and he endured. I guess the point I'm trying to make is facing your problems is the single best thing you can do in your life instead of avoiding them. Because maybe you will fail, but you will have learned something. Maybe you will fail one time, but what if you succeed when you try again? People that give up never succeed. People that give up have already failed. Who invented the light bulb? Was it Edison? Thomas Edison. You guys know the phrase, right? He failed 1,000 times before 1,000 the first time was a light bulb, and he said, the first 1,000 times, I failed, but I just learned how not to make a light bulb. It's a way to look at it, I guess. What I'm calling us to do, all of us, is to step out in faith a little bit. To step out and do things that we haven't done before. To be more courageous, more bold. To be more strong. To realize that God is always by your side. And that you should put your faith in Him. See, I keep coming back to the example of me, right? How God blessed me. I just, not to my boast, but to your edification. If you trust God, He will lead you through wherever it is you're facing. He will lead you through whatever it is you're facing. He'll open and close all the doors for you. You're just gonna walk. But first you must have courage and boldness to keep going, to walk, to step forward, to overcome things that you're afraid of, overcome things that you're not comfortable with, overcome things that stand in your way. And when you have resisted long enough, fought hard enough, and endured long enough, you will see results. You will see results. And you know what the results could be? It could be a saved soul. It could be many souls. It could be things that you have never even dreamt of. So the point is, don't run away from your problems, but embrace them. And a struggle in your life is a good thing. A struggle in your life is probably the best thing you can get.